I am recording again.
So Steve, Lori's recording for a work session.
Okay, do we have to,
You can just open, you can declare that work session open.
okay, just declare the work session's open, there's
Yep.
no call to order or roll call or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. The
Yeah, you can get up there.
work session
Yeah, you're
for
per the
the
facilities committee, Linda.
capital improvement plan is now open. And it's
You are too
basic-
clever.
basically, Ginny, are you with us?
No.
Okay.
I'll let you know if she try, actually, I need to send her, actually, I might have to send her another invite.
This is to discuss, I finally found out here this last week, there's not 48 Skidder sites, there's 47. I don't know what happened to the 48th one.
Is there 47 or 48, Lori? Do we know?
There's 47.
Yeah, because we.
Was it laundry room?
We took
Or
one
what did they
offline
do
to make a
with the
laundry
ex-
room, right?
Oh, we tore that one down,
Tore it down.
104 Holly.
But was it a duplex or was that a single?
That was a single one.
That was just one unit?
Yeah.
On the corner there?
Years, I forgot, right on that corner.
Okay.
So we only have 47 possible Section 8 vouchers.
Well, wasn't that, Lori, wasn't that still on the books that we could rebuild that and put it back online?
I don't know anything about that.
We don't know.
And I remember we tore it down shortly after, I mean, like 6 months after I started, when I tore it down.
I do have a Teams meeting on Tuesday with Janet Smith from HUD to discuss, like, I'm gonna update her on what we talk about today, and I can ask her that.
So Janet Smith is who?
She is our revitalization specialist for public housing at HUD.
I do know the state of a lot of these single-family homes, duplexes are, that some of them are probably 80 years old. I mean, we received them in the mid-70s, and they were already old then. They came from Sawyer Air Force Base down to us. So some of them are close to 80 years old, and they're duplexes. And we looked at a couple of them that, I don't know which one that was, Kevin, where the roof was doing this and so was the floors.
Yeah, that was that empty 4-bedroom.
Right.
That was one of them, and then.
717 Vine,
717 Vine.
which I do have a map here if you guys would like, so I have maps for you.
And there was another one which was a duplex that was doing the same, had a few whoops and most.
So, you know, my first idea was that we just rehab them all and put lipstick on a pig. And now after finding out what we could possibly replace them with as far as Boca mods, modular homes, we're not talking $250,000, we're talking maybe $150,000. But we don't know that for sure because everyone wants to come visit and have their big plan, and no one will tell you exactly what they cost. So,
You can't get a cost on by dimensions.
they don't want to give them to you, they want to come and visit.
Well, that's fine.
Hey,
What's
Steve.
wrong with letting them?
It won't cost us anything,
Your
we're
time.
gonna let them come and look.
Yeah.
But the question is if we do that, but we're talking about what, an $8 million project if we replace them all? Because it's my understanding the only way to do this is through a RAD program, and a RAD program only gives us 2 years to replace.
Well, there's some different opportunities out there with RAD too. So it may be in our best interest to, and I'm going through this process right now, through a RAD conversion. That we're looking at RAD with demolition and rebuild. There's some different programs. So I think there's a couple questions, Steve, to the funding platform, clearly $100,000 going forward in public housing is not gonna get us anywhere in capital fund program. So there are 47 units right now. Isn't that what it is, Lori, 100,000? Capital fund,
113.
113,000. So that's likely, going forward, it's gonna be in that range. So that doesn't get us enough money to do anything. So just that premise alone, 47 units,
Well, I would like to do this without displacing
yep,
tenants or making it very easy for them. And if we have 4 offline units now, if we could get into a program where every year we hop 4 more units and just move tenants into a new unit that becomes their new home, they don't have to move and then come back. That would be the best of all worlds, but I don't know how we're gonna do that.
I don't think that's possible in a project with this RAD conversion project. If we do some new build, they're gonna want that kind of in the same project. So I think that's part of the discussion. My recommendation would be, number one, that we engage with an consultant, a RAD consultant. I have some thoughts. We're working with a company called Baker Tilly right now, not suggesting that they're the ones, but do an RFP for a consultant to walk us through the options so that we're schooled and knowledgeable on the options. As far as the RAD goes, Steve.
Well, I don't know who to pick, but it wouldn't be EJP because they have not, we've not heard from them.
No.
They just kind of disappeared, fell off the face of the earth.
No, we've talked to them. We've talked to them. They're helping close out the current project. So, the question is, we still have some, there's this engagement out there that we sent out to do phase 2. So,
Right.
Which expires, I think, May of this coming
yeah.
year.
So, strategically, do we wait until that is off the calendar and then move forward? I don't think we can't have discussions about it, but I think it's your path to determine where we want to see. But continuing as is I don't think we got to a point where there's no return.
Is there, the only way to get out of the public housing and put it into a Section 8 voucher type thing is through RAD? That's the
RAD,
only way
yeah.
to do that,
Yeah.
right? So we are limited to a RAD conversion, whether we want to or not.
I think that's the reality of the situation, Steve.
I think the positives on this is when you look at the age of the existing units, and some of them are a little newer than others, and you look at the issues we're going through where we've just said, okay, yeah, we'll spend up to $56,000 to fix this one. And you look at the things that you don't know going into it, okay, so there's some plumbing and maybe there's electrical, maybe not there's electrical. You never really know what you've got until you start peeling the layers off and looking at the foundation and what's going to happen next. And, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine just did a Airbnb and Necoma. He thought he was going to put $300,000 in it. He put 1.1 million in it. And it was like, once the siding comes off and once you start looking at the foundations and once you start looking at all the aspects of it, you're sometimes in an unknown. When you talk about replacing it with a modern modular style unit and maybe having to address the foundation, but your wiring, your plumbing, your heating and cooling, your insulation, everything is up to date at one time and you're not going back 2 years from now to pack something else up. So depending on the cost and the programs that are available to accommodate the process, that replace as many of the units as possible, because that gives us the greater lifespan going forward to serve the population.
So, and I think this comes into play too. So there's this, under the RAD program, you can do a blend, they call it, a Section 18 blend. It's called demolition and disposition. So, and that's what I would want a consultant to walk us through, the pros and cons of that, because that is eliminating some units, and they provide you with the, what they call tenant protection vouchers that you can assign to new construction. So then there's rental assistance. So that helps a part of the funding process, because then you use, so the beauty of having this guaranteed revenue source, whatever it is, $700 or $800 a month, you can leverage that. That can be part of your, you can parlay that into to borrowing. So if you have, $50,000 of income over your operating expense, you can use that to leverage debt. So you can bring in capital to the project. So that's something I think we need to look at.
And see, this will also coincide, and with Jim, I would have fought him 2 months ago over that. He wants to replace as much as I can. I wanted to rehab as much as we could. But after looking at him and looking at what replacement costs might cost us, I'm probably in Jim's, I know I'm in Jim's camp now. We should replace what we can, all that we can.
And there's gonna be a limit on how much we can spend on each unit. There's a cap too. So, in the public housing side, because then they're gonna say it's not worth going over this, I can't remember the term. Laura, do you remember? It's, there's a renovation limit that you can't go over.
Right.
Well, the one program I would like to bring information back on is the Section 18 streamlining, conversion, and disposition.
That's what I
for-
just brought up.
Yeah, but it's under 50 units. So this is a little different than what you guys are looking at in Everett, Mark, because you can only apply for it if you have less than 50 units. So there's not a lot of agencies that are going this route because they're larger. So that's to our advantage that this is for very small. So that's something that,
Yeah.
But when I read the part about that, that was about demoing and selling land, just getting right out of the business.
yep, no, I have a friend in Montcalm County that's doing it right now.
Okay.
That may be true, Steve, but then they're gonna give you these, what they call them, tenant protection vouchers, that we can go into a new build.
Okay,
They have that
okay,
rental
I see.
assistance coming into a new build. You can't displace folks, so that's gonna be the driving factor. Whatever we do, we have to have a plan, whether they're going into an existing rehab or they're going into a new construction. And it can be either, but we can't displace folks. So we have to have a plan that under a RAD conversion, they're entitled to come back to rental assistance, some form of assistance, which will always be 30% of their income that they pay for rent. Part of the RAD conversion process is you have to guarantee that they can come back to a like unit. Now, we told them they could come back to their existing units, which wasn't the case. So we should have preferenced that back in when we started this process a few years ago, but,
And the timing right now is good. If these IRA grants for heat pump, HVAC, and hot water heat and stuff like that are coming out the third quarter of 2024, that would hit this perfectly.
I think it's beneficial to get somebody that's knowledgeable about the process. I mean, I am knowledgeable, but that can give you guys a third-party analysis on what's the best approach.
So they would do like a feasibility.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I drive around up in Holly Court and check all these out, and personally, I think, get rid of them all. It's a horrible area. Um, But maybe there are some in there that are in good standing and just need some updating and some improvements. The other ones on 12th Street, those are the other ones that are just, I think, in horrible condition. But I don't know the feasibility of it. I don't know what, if they have to knock down 3 walls and keep one. I don't know. So somebody to come in that can kind of look at all these, I can walk through them and have my opinion, but I am not an expert.
Well, I wouldn't wanna put $50,000 or $60,000 into a unit, only to 2 or 3 years from now tear it down.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask that, how much, I mean, if we're gonna look into this, how much, we're gonna have to start thinking, how much do we wanna put in these units now, just to see an excavator come and throw that money in the back of a dump truck and all that, no. You know?
That's why 10th Street was worth saving, so
Oh,
that,
definitely, 100%, that one was definitely worth saving.
I think that's the key question, what's worth saving and what isn't, and the ones that
My
are,
opinion on Holly Court and Vine Street, the only ones worth saving are them new duplexes. Pretty much everything else up there is the same age. I mean, if you're gonna, like you said, Steve, put perfume on a pig. And I've been doing it for 12 years, putting perfume on a pig. It was a good perfume either. You've seen it.
Mark, I think you're right. I think we need to get someone to kind of walk us through our options in a process so we can make the best decision for housing for the residents. Having gone through a number of the ones up by Reese Park and looking at several dispersed units, some units are certainly in worse shape than others. You have to look at what's available and what you can do if you want to take on all 47 units, or if you want to carve out and say, these 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever are viable into the future.
but whatever we do under this RAD process, there'll be a capital needs assessment attached to it. And either you have to address all the capital needs or have a reserve amount set aside as the need arises. I don't think we could find a funding source to do all the required capital needs.
I mean, rehab them.
Yeah, to do enough rehab under that program, because they're gonna require a certain level of rehab under this RAD conversion. They'll wanna see all these capital needs either addressed or that there's a replacement reserve set aside, so if the capital need says in 5 years furnace replacements, that you have that money to do that. So that's part of this process.
Now, are we beholden to EJP and Commonwealth until the May of next year?
Well, I think that's, no, not EJP for sure, because we had the conversation with them.
I don't think Commonwealth is interested in doing
That was a
business with us anyway.
5-year, you can only have a 5-year agreement in the HUD world. You could do 3-year contracts, and it's typically 3 years, but you can go up to 5 with extenuating circumstances. So they're in the end of their 5th year. She brought that up the last time we talked to her.
Okay.
I think we start anew and go out for a different development team.
Do we do a consultant, or do we skip the consultant and go right to a developer?
Well, I think it's an RFP is written that it can be it's a developer / consultant, or consultant / developer. And there may be only one role for them. But if we're gonna go through the tax credit process, we're gonna need a developer partner, just like we did, because we can't successfully obtain tax credits because we don't have the experience. There's a big scoring system, and it's skewed towards experienced developers. So really, you're buying developer experience.
Now, explain that tax credit process let's say that a project is costing us $10 million.
Yeah.
And so we make a tax credit available. So basically what we're doing is we're getting $10 million for free.
Well, so it's a convoluted, complicated process, but the whole tax credit,
Keep it simple.
yeah, I'll keep it simple. There's no simple explanation, but it's an IRS program, section 42 of the IRS code. Each state's allocated so many tax credits for affordable housing. So they're allocated on a per capita basis to the state. So in our state, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority is the allocating agency. So they allocate on behalf of the IRS. So it's a competitive process. There's 9% tax credits. There's a competitive round that we have to compete with other developers. There's a scoring system. And so there's different categories. There's preservation, there's supportive housing, there's a whole bunch of different set-asides within that allocation. So we compete. So we did successfully on Century Terrace in Harborview. We competed for 9% credits. So let's say we determine X number of renovation costs, then we're going to figure out what our eligible basis is. So we'll ask for that amount of tax credits. So then we find a investor to buy those tax credits from us. So let's say Sinair, who is the investor partner in this deal. So we would get, let's just say, so they're allocated for a 10-year period. So let's say we've got $500,000 per year. So the investor will come in, they'll probably pay you 88 cents or 90 cents per dollar, and that's cash coming into your deal. So they have to sell these to investors. So the investor wants tax credits. So they're able to write off their tax liability by investing in affordable housing. So they're going to give you, this is just rough numbers, 90 cents for each dollar that you are awarded. So that's $90. There's 90 cents out of each dollar that's coming back in cash from the private market. So Sinair has investor groups, so like GM, the big banks, they want these tax credits because when they make profits, they want to write off their tax liability.
So if we had a $10 million outlay, they would basically
$9 million.
give us $9 million, we'd have to fund the $1 million.
Yep, you got to come up with that gap somehow.
Okay.
So that's through debt or other loans or grants out there, and there are other opportunities out there. So there's Federal Home Loan Bank loans that we've used in the past. That's straight grant. There's HUD insurance mortgages. There's lots of different debt to cover that gap.
You know, I'm thinking we could even use like the county land bank to do demolition.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
they're demolishing the Kennedy School.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's tax credit kind of 101. It's not a full picture of it. So that's what we did on this, but we entered into a partnership with a developer. They're the majority owner again. So that's when you go that route, we're not the majority owner. We had to go into a partnership, which is 51-49, I think. And then that partnership went into a limited partnership with the investor partner, which was Sinair, who brought the cash to us. So we gave up some ownership rights.
Well, why?
But it comes back, because that's the way it's got to be set up, Steve.
Okay.
Yep. Because the developer is the Commonwealth, let's say we'll use them, the developer, they were awarded the tax credits. So they have to be in that position. But if you look at this agreement, there's an out clause for them at a
5
certain
years.
point. So you'd want to partner with a developer that wanted out. And then
Right.
the property comes back to us. But you give up some of your control and authority, as we have seen when you entered into these partnerships. Now, with the right partner, that's not a problem.
Okay.
So that's a discussion to have, because I think this project hasn't gone as well has anticipated, you know, the current one. So does that worry the commission about doing another deal like we've done?
I think possibly that between the city and the Housing Commission and the changes, we probably have learned a lot on what to look for in the way to qualify a new partner. I mean, these tax credits are traded like stock. They're hot stock. There's never been a problem getting somebody to want to invest in those.
No, they're in high demand, very high demand.
Yep.
It's a highly competitive process, very competitive.
So I think we probably have learned the hard way what to look for in the way of a partner. So I think we could probably safely say, we're going to check every box, we're going to dot every I. We're going to just
God
totally
forbid who the
investigate
next
them.
developer could be.
Right. So,
And maybe we don't need to go through that process too. I think that's the beauty of hiring this consultant that is well heeled in this RAD conversion process and has seen many other deals in the country and how they've overcome obstacles in financing.
Okay, do we want to proceed and allow management to look for a possible consultant to start this ball rolling?
I just did an RFP, so I have that template all ready to go.
okay.
So,
Well, we're going to have to vet them thoroughly, even the consultant,
yeah,
you know, to make sure.
yeah, absolutely. I would suggest we interview them all
Mm-hmm.
in a public forum.
They need to present on their RFP, so they'll need to come to us
Yep.
and give a presentation, and that's where we'll interview them
Yep.
too.
You know, I don't know where, you know, we're kind of in a blue sky right now. I don't know where you stop this. Because we could do our 47 scattered site units. And if, in fact, we can get modular designs in that $150,000 range, we can get into workforce housing and partner with the land bank and the city or whatever to do the workforce housing in town too on the vacant lots and stuff, using the same format.
Yeah. You know, you may come back to a position too that you may not want to replace, like you may want to go to more of a multifamily type structure because of the construction cost today. Obviously, it's cheaper to build one building than it is to build several single-family homes and basements or foundations or whatever you have. So, you know, you all know the housing market's broken right now. I mean, it's just the cost to just start a starter house is almost unaffordable for a lot of folks right now, and they're just not available. So, you know, I always take what's the biggest bang we can get for our buck right now, you know. And I think there's still that need for multifamily, you know, in Big Rapids. We think we satisfied that need, so we started going to a single family format and building single family homes. But I don't know if we're here yet. I think that's your decision, or, you know, with input from the city council, you know, what's the best platform to get the biggest impact that we can make for the community?
There's a couple things that, you know, just I gotta throw out there just because I always think about it. But, you know, I've been up in Holly Court, I've been up in that area, Vine Street, and I am appalled. You know, even the city infrastructure is awful. I can't even believe that it's like a dirt road practically up there. We continuously put these people in kind of this bias. You know, we have housing that is substandard, we have infrastructure that is substandard. It's like we definitely are, you know, helping with the biases and the prejudices towards people that are living in poverty. You know, I look at that place on 6th Street, and, you know, and the community knows where these places are. Why do they, you know, they've gone beyond their use, but we've also I feel like we've given up on them too. I don't know why the city allows Holly Court is that in the city?
You know, here's the thing, and it's tough. It's a tough message. I've been on city council for almost 8 years. Before I started, my biggest concern was Quincy Street. It took almost 8 years to get that $1 million project done. It's not a very long street. It needed new utilities underneath. It needed water and sewer lines, and it needed a complete restructuring of that small, basically not more than 2-block street. 8 years to get that money together.
Yeah.
So it's not that we don't want to.
No, it's been poor planning. It's poor planning everywhere, you know? And it's like, and I also would bring up that why do we continue to, my opinion is that the city does not have the ability to keep taking on big structures. You know, I mean, you guys are catching up all the time. You're right. It takes a long time to take care of the city streets. It takes a lot of manpower to take care of our parks. I mean, there's just lots and lots and lots. And then we're like, oh, let's build another 4-story building. You know, let's move to the county. You know, anywhere north of us is excellent location. I know they are doing workforce housing. The land bank is going to tear down that building. There's going to be 400 and some apartments there. Great. But also, too, maybe we can look as a commission, not just in the city. Now, there's going to be a lot of discussion with the city and the county, I'm sure, but how about spreading some of this out?
That's true. The thing that appeals most to me about where these houses are right now is the infrastructure's already in place.
Yep.
But
All you
it's,
have to do is connect the hose and you're going.
I don't think it's quite that simple, because we don't really know the condition of any of the sewer lines unless we get into it. There's really no reason for us to redo the roads there until you put new structure in place and everything's hooked up. That would be the time to put in the new roads.
And these are the things I think when we do construction, when we do, you know, it's just like Century Terrace. You know, I've been waiting. It's like, boy, you guys better finish this. And now we got to get to the road. I mean, it's like, it's a process. So if everybody's at the table, and some of our problem is that we weren't all at the table, and for my own self, I was not aware of a lot of things. So some of this project went sour probably because we weren't engaged, maybe. I don't know. There's lots of blame to go around, but I really, you know, especially for our facilities, I do not want to add to the stigma. We need to stop this. You know, you can just, I'm just appalled sometimes. You know, I look at places and I kind of go, man, would I live there? I mean, we should be able to say, would I live there? And I'm looking at them going, no, absolutely not.
You know, I would be dead set against family units being in a high rise. That is the cheapest way of doing it, but that's the most sure way of making it into a project in the slum. And if we find out through our investigation that the return on investment to put single-family homes or duplexes, I'm envisioning things like townhouses.
Yeah, when I meant multifamily, I didn't mean high rises, by the way.
Right.
I meant.
But that's what.
But that was the
plan
plan that came up before.
Oh, no,
That
yeah.
this was like, oh my God, we can't do that again, you know, yeah, rating
And
us.
they brought up buying the old hospital and moving scattering sites all into that building. And
I do think the important thing is that you're engaged, though.
Yes.
And that it's not an easy problem. It's not gonna just get solved by us talking at one work session. There's a lot more work. And I think that everybody's gotta be on board and on the same page. So, you know, and I asked or suggested this to Steve, is a joint meeting with the city council, so everybody has input. And so when we come to actually do a project, that it doesn't get sidetracked, that, you know, that it's not a good site or whatever, or certain people don't like it and it ends up getting voted down or doesn't get the support or whatever. So I think it's a process to go through, and it's a good discussion to have.
And I think it's important to have discussions with the city and the county about property that's out there,
Yeah.
you know?
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, it's like, where can we, and again, I'm not saying that everything has to land in the city, because I know that it's stressful. I mean, we've got a couple big projects, one coming on First Street, the one on Washington, it's like we have, in the one on end of the river, so we've got housing that's coming for workforce, but again, that's gonna take a lot of resources still. So I
And
just
it's
want
2 years out to get
Yeah.
those projects.
But that housing is all rental, right?
Correct, it's.
I'm talking workforce housing, I'm talking,
I know, but
Purchase.
I'm talking about structure and ability to sustain within the city's abilities. I mean, it's like, why do we constantly have to, and again, why does it all have to be on the north side? That always gets me too.
Well-
Let's spread it out, and if we can have during our discussions, can we move over the line into Filer City? There's some pretty good property over there. What about Manistee Township? Whether or not these townships will even come to the table, I don't know, but I would love to investigate this. I always say Manistee Township because every resource a person needs is in walking distance out there. But doctors, hospitals, Meyer,
Well, for-
now
Walking
Culver's,
distance?
Culver's now. Huh?
walking distance?
You could.
That's why I brought up that 5 acres right across kitty corner from Myers where they're selling little buildings that was for
Right.
sale. I brought that up 2 years ago.
The only thing
It's
is,
a perfect location,
Yep.
walking distance everywhere.
but you have to check the water systems there.
We
There was
need
water.
utilities.
We have actually water and sewer out to that corner, because we also have down to the prison, so.
Does the city provide services outside the city, utilities?
For water and sewer, they
They
do.
do,
They-
yeah.
One that goes
Yeah.
through.
So the city's done some probably 425 land transfer acts or something to get,
I don't-
no.
That detail I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know we have an agreement with Filer to do, Jim, you were in on that. You were instrumental in reopening the discussions between the city of Manistee and Filer over sewer. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that was a done deal.
Yeah, it's,
The tribe was gonna do the sewer for Filer and we turned that baby around.
Yep. And we do, we provide service down to the prison through our lines.
And there is capacity. And,
Yes.
the overflows that they had were about sealing runoffs and about getting illicit connections shut down and all that stuff. But, yeah, the infrastructure's there. You never know, like I said before, what you've got until you start digging a hole and you find broken tiles and such as that. But Reese Park is out there. Joe Hollander did his development out there 15, 20 years ago. So I'm sure there was some new infrastructure, but I have to agree, when you walk around those units out there, there's not much asphalt. And it's all dried out and ground out. I hate the thought that public housing looks like public housing.
Yeah.
Public housing, what we provide for people that do not have the financial means that others have, it should not look like a public housing unit from the street.
You can't expect respect from someone if you don't show them.
And when you do
respect.
that, people are much more willing to maintain it and keep it looking nice. I mean, if it doesn't look worth a damn to begin with, what's their incentive to keep it up?
The thing is, our houses right now all look alike. They look like boxes with windows. There's no curb appeal at all.
No.
well, I think that's part of what we haven't worked on either. I mean, I'm gonna take Sixth Street. It's like, could somebody pull a weed or two or pull a tree, those kind of things. But I think moving forward, I didn't mean to derail it completely, but as we talk to a consultant and we work on these, maybe not just Manistee City, you know, what other options are out, if we can do that out. And I brought this up to Clinton several times, and he would tell me, no, we can't move outside of the city limits. I don't know if that's true or not.
The other thing I just happen to think of is Filer's got their, what do they call that thing that they're trying to get going, the,
Across from the old KFC and stuff, they're
right,
housing, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that-
that's a planned housing with townhouses and everything. They have a plan on that one. Their downtown development, their DDA has set that one up.
but this could be even an addition onto it, or part of.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they bought the property that the tribe had, and they have that section. Behind that are the condos, and to the other side, and a doctor owns that corner, and he owns the plaza. So they're building right in the middle of that.
Okay.
So I would just say this, so if we had a housing choice voucher program, we'd be serving probably a 30-mile radius of the city. So, you know, the Housing Commission's not limited per se to the city. And we have a nonprofit, and really, you're the entity to deal with housing issues. I mean, the Housing Commission was created to solve housing problems, so I don't think we've been that creative over the years here. We haven't added any additional housing, which is certainly why we're created. Housing commissions, just so you know, don't have to be public housing entities. Housing commissions are created under Public Act 18 under the state of Michigan enabling legislation. There are housing commissions that have no public housing property. You can do tax credit developments, and in the new world, that's how everything's getting done. It's not, there's no new public housing being built in the United States, and there hasn't been in 20 years. It's the other avenues through tax credits, and I know Steve's managed tax credits. You can see the new multifamily, it's a different process. We're eligible to do that, just so you know. So we don't have to be pigeonholed into this one thought process too.
But
we have,
it's all well and good, you know, I love where this is going, but we've got to have our management team in place. And so far, we have 3 temporary people. I love you all, but none of you want to stay in Manistee for the rest of your life.
Unless we could change your mind.
I'd visit. No, I think that's, yeah, the problem, Steve, and not.
I know you like Everett better than Manistee.
To find some, just, there's not that experience out there that knows public housing and that can do the development side. That's the problem. It just doesn't exist, so, you know,
Well, hopefully in a couple of years, we'll be out of the public housing business.
yeah. Yeah, and maybe you move to a management company format too, and you have a small administrative staff that really just oversees management companies too.
Just a site manager.
Yeah, yeah, so there's lots of different, and I think it's good to have the discussion because there's lots of roads to go down. And ultimately, we all have to agree where the final road is and what we want to move forward with.
Well, I think it's a good discussion, because as we look at our RFP and start thinking beyond borders and, you know, with greater possibilities, then we'll be able to kind of better pick, knowing what we've got to build towards the future, you know, getting a permanent team and all that stuff. Because this, you know, this will be a multi-year project.
We're finally crawling out of that past hole now and getting into today.
Yeah,
And
and it's
hopefully looking toward the future.
it's a shame that it's gotten to this point with those, that they haven't been addressed over the years. And we can't look back, I get that, but.
Yeah. Well, you can only do so much spraying a perfume or putting on lipstick, you know?
Now, Mark and Lori, and Carla, you're gonna put out an RFP for a consultant,
For a RAD consultant,
right?
yeah. I'll send you a copy of the RFP before it goes out.
Because that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to do a RAD type proposition for the 47 scattered sites, I would guess.
I
We don't have
don't-
any other way of getting them out of public
Yeah, you
housing.
have to get them released from public housing, so we have this contract with the government, and they have to release you. I mean,
Okay. Any further discussion?
Well, I would like to talk about 717 Vine.
What's 717 Vine?
So it's been vacant for 3 years.
Yeah.
This
So,
only went through, Steve. That 4-bedroom.
Oh,
I mean, are we gonna let it set for 2 more years while we're waiting for this rad conversion? Or Mark, what's your time for, like, when would we actually?
Well, you're 2 years at the best case scenario, going through a whole RAD process. Then if you add a tax credit application on it, that increase, I mean, what are we on now? You're 5, I think, from the start of the whole RAD conversion process to the end of construction. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's
Just over, because she said her 5-year contract
5-year
ended, and she did an extension.
but we would actually start the RAD conversion prior to the 2 years.
Well,
Or
no,
well,
you gotta
no.
have a funding mechanism
Yeah,
in place.
okay,
If
yeah.
you're choosing this road and we're gonna go for tax credits, they're not gonna let you convert until you've obtained that financing to prove that you can address the capital needs. So there's a lot of moving parts in the whole process.
Well, right now, I'd hate to put a modular up there, only to find out it doesn't lay within the scheme of what we're gonna do with the other 46 units.
So 1717 is that what you're saying?
It's right on Vine Street.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's.
4-bedroom.
It's been
And-
vacant for,
And why has it been vacant?
It's
It's trash.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
It's trash.
So probably $100,000 to make it
Rentable.
It has
in
structural
good shape.
problems along with
That's in
everything
good
else.
shape, like to make it good. Would be about 100,000. That would be taking all the drywall off the walls, you know, going right down to the studs, repairing the roof, putting new cabinets, windows.
Oh, no, the expensive part you didn't even mention, structurally, it's not sound. The roof is going like this, the floors are going like this. You're gonna have to put a new foundation under it and everything else.
I had 2 contractors look at it and they estimated $100,000.
Is
And
that, is that a lot? Would that, I mean, I don't know if that's considered, is that something that we could demolish, turn over to land bank, get somebody like tiny house builders to come in and build on that property?
Right,
Your only
right in the
problem,
middle of our property on Vine Street.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, that's what I'm asking.
it's not a problem, but it's something to keep in mind, that this is all, it's a planned unit development, and the master deed and everything will have to be changed for it if we go that route, which is just something to keep in mind. It's an extra step that you'd need to go through. So,
No matter what, it sounds like it should be demolished.
it does kind of sound that way, because 100,000 isn't much. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a lot to somebody if you don't have 100,000, but just as COVID started, I have a very small house, and I added a second bathroom, and I remodeled my kitchen, and that was $55,000-$60,000
yeah,
just to do that.
I think hundreds
So,
are optimistic.
Especially structurally.
I think 100,000 is not.
Yeah, I mean, think that's highly optimistic that you could do it for,
I think right now, we leave it alone till we decide what we're gonna do.
yeah, I think that's the best.
I'd like to
And
see.
I think we'll have that direction within a year or two. And it's gonna take us a year to redo it if we decided to redo it today. It wouldn't be till this time next year before it'd be habitable.
Kevin, what's your thoughts?
I don't think it's worth fixing, to be honest with you, just because of like when we walked through it and I pointed out to Steve and, what's his name? It's got a big smile in the living room. Doesn't it, in the beam? I mean, it's got us.
It's got some
Shoulders like this, so you'd have to put beams
Well, and
under it.
once we get Rusty on board, I could have him actually give us a proposal, just to get it rentable.
To get a real
Not put 100,000 into it, but just say, to get it, to pass a rental inspection, what would it cost us?
But again, if we're looking at renting until we get new houses out there, say we could have new houses out there in 4 years, so you got 48 months of rent at $1,000, that's 48,000.
Well, we don't get subsidy, and we're not getting any subsidy on this unit either. You're losing
Well,
subsidy.
it's set. What's that?
Well, we don't receive any subsidy from HUD on this unit.
Right, but I'm just saying that if we got $1,000 for 48 months, that's 48,000. If we invest more than 48,000 into bringing that up to code or whatever, we've lost money. I don't think that we could get that in rentable shape for under 48,000.
Honestly, I do not think you could. I don't.
Okay, so then 12th Street is the other one that's offline.
Did we look at that last Monday?
Yeah, the architect was with us when we went there. That was
That's
the
that
one
little
bedroom.
one-bedroom I said that once the neighbor moves out, we'll do them both at one time.
Oh, that's, the
Yeah.
Roger thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my suggestion, to get them both rented.
right,
I think we do an assessment after he's out,
right.
and then,
I
Yeah,
don't know what
because
they're like.
Once he's out, then we can get a good look at his.
Yeah, that was our quick one. Lori wanted to get right off that
but I think you're on the right road. The
She
ones
wasn't
we can
that
save,
clever.
let's save, and the ones we can't, let's brainstorm and see where we can end up.
site. I can tell you that there's two right now that are, at least from the outside, fantastic. And those are the stick-built ones that were done here, what, 5, 6
Oh,
years ago?
Dozen years.
2008, then we'll put
Yeah.
Where's that, Kevin?
up on the hill, up on
By
Vine
Vine.
Street, them duplexes, them new ones. My opinion, them are the only two that are worth saving up there.
Mhm.
Jefferson's in good shape.
Jefferson is a nice little house.
That was the first one we
I've
went
just
to.
seen. I
Right.
could use new siding, just,
Yeah.
and maybe a porch or something, just to give it a little bit of,
Pizzazz.
yeah, a little bit of curb appeal, maybe something off the front with a nice little porch with.
And it sets all by itself. There
It
isn't
does.
anything else
It's got a
around
nice
it.
lot.
So we might be able to do the same thing we're doing with Rusty right now. You know, put a new, well, no, the roof is in pretty good shape.
It's brand new last year.
Maybe new siding on it or windows.
It definitely needs windows, it's got the same windows as every other unit.
Yeah.
You know, and we all know them are,
And you have a long-term renter in there that's just
she's
happy.
going nowhere.
Siding and windows and some shutters and some landscaping will go a long way to
Yes.
curb appeal.
Especially on that one.
And we're not upsetting the scheme of the rest, you know, that Vine Street and that area out in there, that, there's like 30 of them right in there, and I would like that to be like a PUD, a planned.
Unit development.
Right.
You know, I think the question is, where can we get the best bang for our dollar?
Right.
Well, brand new is a very attractive idea for the whole project, only because you have minimal maintenance going forward for the next
And you could do a
5,
little bit-
7 years
A
or
little bit of
more.
landscaping around there and really make it look nice in there.
The goal,
Up in Vine is a nice area. You've got, especially for families, you've got a beautiful little park across the street. Those housing that, what's his name did, you know, on the corner there, they're nice, they're well kept. You know, it's
Where's this at?
up in Holly Court and Vine
Okay.
Street. You know, it's
Yeah,
not,
that could be made
that's
into a very nice
a
little
very
community.
nice location, but
could be.
right now, it just looks.
Well, and the other nice thing about that location is it's already acceptable with all the residents of the city. It's
Right.
there. You don't have to, you know, people aren't gonna be protesting outside your door because you're putting it in their backyard. It's already there. Short of going out into the country somewhere, into an empty field, you're gonna have a problem if you try to move public housing or move Section 8 housing to other areas of the city.
Because you're gonna have that neighbor that's gonna squawk like heck because you're moving and I'm not saying nothing about public housing, but you're gonna have that neighbor that's gonna be squawking, because I don't want them people living next to me.
I want, when we're all said and done here, I want all our housing units to be like, and I hate to say this, Lakeview Apartments when I ran Lakeview. Most people in this town didn't know Lakeview was low-income housing
No, you didn't.
because it was kept up well.
Well, that's the point. Our housing that we provide for our tenants should not stand out like, you know, they are low income. They should blend in with the neighborhood and the needs.
Any further discussion? Then I'd like to call to adjourn the meeting.
Sounds good?